There's a lie that almost every man has heard since childhood. They say that to be respected, you have to speak louder, respond to every criticism, constantly prove your worth, and show the world everything you're achieving. But you only need to observe reality for a few minutes to realize that the most influential men rarely do that. They don't argue for every reason. They don't explain every decision. They don't feel the need to win every conversation. And curiously, it is precisely these men who inspire the most respect, the most admiration, and often even the most fear. This doesn't happen by chance. There's a principle that Machiavelli understood more than 500 years ago and that continues to work exactly the same way today. Most people believe that power is linked to the volume of one's voice, the number of followers, or the ability to convince crowds. But true influence is born in silence. The less someone needs to prove who they are, the harder it becomes to ignore them. The less you react to provocations, the more unpredictable you become. And human nature has always respected what it cannot completely control. The problem is that almost no one teaches this. On the contrary, society rewards constant exposure, encourages impulsive responses, and transforms anxiety into productivity. While millions live trying to attract attention, few realize that true power never chases recognition. It attracts it naturally. And that's exactly why so many men work hard for years, achieve money, status, and position, but continue to be disrespected at home, at work, or even among friends. They learn to achieve results, but never learn to build presence. In this video, you'll discover why silence can be the most powerful weapon a man possesses. You'll understand how Machiavelli viewed human nature without illusions, why emotionally controlled people always have an advantage over those who react to everything, and how to develop a presence that conveys authority without intimidating anyone. In the end, you might realize that the biggest mistake was never talking too much. The real mistake was believing that power needed to make noise to exist. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. There's a curious moment in almost every man's life when he believes he's pursuing success, respect, and power, when in reality he's being pursued by his own insecurities. The more he chases people's approval, the further away it seems to get. The more he tries to prove his worth, the less seriously he's taken. It's precisely here that the first great lesson Machiavelli understood by observing human nature begins. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, reveals that the world responds much less to visible effort than to the perceived value that each individual conveys. Many live like desperate hunters, when in reality they carry on their backs the target they themselves painted. They work beyond what's necessary just to hear praise. They buy things they don't need to impress people who don't even like them. They accept any invitation for fear of being forgotten. And, without realizing it, they surrender control over their emotions to others. The curious thing is that this pursuit never ends, because those who live trying to achieve validation always create a new, impossible goal. Meanwhile, those who understand that better to be feared than loved doesn't mean spreading fear, but conveying presence, are slowly beginning to reverse this invisible game. Observe someone who is truly respected in any environment. It could be a businessman, a military leader, an admired professor, or even that discreet person who enters a room and immediately changes the atmosphere without raising their voice. They rarely seem to chase attention. On the contrary, it's as if attention naturally comes to them. This phenomenon doesn't stem from luck, but from the combination of virtu and fortuna, where preparation meets opportunity at the right moment. Those who understand this begin to cultivate an appearance of virtue, without depending on constant approval. They learn that the calculated use of force includes controlling words, emotions, and reactions long before controlling any external situation. Just as a general never reveals all strategies before battle, those who seek true power stop announcing every plan, every dream, and every achievement. Gradually, they realize that the greatest pursuer was never an external enemy, but the desperate need for recognition. And when this discovery finally happens, an uncomfortable question arises that changes everything. If spending life running was precisely the mistake, then who taught that this was the only way? For a long time, they sold the idea that winning in life meant speaking louder, appearing more, flaunting every achievement, and constantly being the center of attention. They said that whoever dominates a conversation is the one who interrupts first, that whoever publishes every step on social media conveys authority, and that absolute transparency is synonymous with strength. But experience shows exactly the opposite. Machiavelli never observed the world through illusions. He advocated a politics guided by reality, not by ideals, because he knew that human nature responds much more to mystery than to excessive exposure. Whoever reveals everything becomes predictable. Whoever explains too much gives away their intentions prematurely. Whoever feels the need to justify every decision offers others a complete map of their fears. And it only takes someone to know their fears to discover where to apply pressure. That's why so many intelligent people remain manipulated. They believed that unrestricted sincerity generates respect, when, in practice, it often only reduces their negotiating power. True influence is born from inner clarity, not from excessive explanations. Those who understand this begin to realize that not every truth needs to be proclaimed, not every opinion deserves to be shared, and not every battle warrants an immediate response. Just observe how great negotiators, experienced investors, and leaders who remain in command for decades operate. They rarely make decisions in the heat of the moment. Before revealing a strategy, they usually study scenarios, listen much more than they speak, and allow others to provide information first. This behavior represents a true, calculated use of force because it transforms silence into a tool of intelligence. Think, for example, of someone negotiating a salary increase. Most try to convince by talking non-stop, justifying every merit. A prepared professional, however, presents concrete results, makes their proposal, and endures a few seconds of silence without anxiety. Often, it is precisely this silence that forces the other side to fill the void and reveal their position. This small detail completely changes the balance of the conversation. The same applies to relationships, friendships, and family conflicts. Those who learn to control their own need to respond immediately develop a kind of emotional shield. After all, the end justifies the means only when those means preserve one's own integrity and respect solid principles. Similarly, avoiding being hated doesn't mean pleasing everyone, but carefully choosing which battles truly deserve energy. And when that lie finally loses its power, a much deeper transformation begins to take place, because it is no longer enough to change the way one acts. It will be necessary to abandon the identity that sustained that old behavior. There's a reason why so many people study personal development for years, read dozens of books, and yet remain stuck with the same results. The problem is rarely a lack of knowledge. It's an attachment to the old identity. Most try to build a new life, carrying the exact same habits, the same fears, and the same reactions that created their previous life. It's like trying to build a castle on unstable ground. Sooner or later, everything crumbles. Machiavelli understood that no true transformation happens without rupture. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands acknowledging facts, even when they wound pride. Perhaps the man who wants to be respected is still the same one who begs for acceptance. Perhaps the one who dreams of financial freedom still makes impulsive decisions to impress strangers. Perhaps the one who wants to exercise leadership continues to avoid difficult conversations for fear of displeasing others. As long as these old versions remain alive, they will sabotage any attempt at growth. It's not the world that prevents evolution. Often it's the outdated identity that insists on surviving. This symbolic death doesn't happen in a single day, nor through a motivational phrase. It occurs in small, almost invisible choices. It's when someone stops responding to a provocation simply to protect their own ego. It's when they decide to wake up early to study, even without wanting to. It's when they exchange hours of distraction for reading works like The Prince, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, or Financial Psychology by Morgan Housel, understanding that each page strengthens a new mindset. Gradually, a posture marked by virtu and fortuna is born, because luck begins to favor those who are prepared. Constant adaptability also emerges, the ability to abandon old beliefs whenever reality shows a better path. This change causes the appearance of virtue to cease being merely an external strategy and to reflect genuine discipline. Like a commander who trusts in his own loyal armies, the man begins to build internal resources instead of depending on the approval of others. And when he realizes that he no longer reacts as before, he understands that something has died within him. Interestingly, however, what has disappeared opens up space for an even rarer skill, because abandoning an old identity is only the first step in learning to let go of everything that never truly belonged to you. Few men discover that true power begins precisely where the need to control everything ends. Most believe that detachment means indifference, coldness, or lack of feelings. They couldn't be more wrong. Detachment is, in fact, the ability to maintain lucidity when everyone around is being governed by their own emotions. Machiavelli understood that the greatest defeats arose not only from the strength of the adversary, but from one's inability to control one's own impulses. Therefore, he advocated a politics guided by reality, not by ideals, where each decision was made by observing the facts and not just desires. Whoever clings excessively to a person, a position, an opportunity, or even an opinion, unknowingly surrenders control of their own peace. It only takes a threat to that for fear to take over. It is precisely at this moment that rationality disappears. The person begins to negotiate their principles, accepts crumbs of respect, insists on worn-out relationships, and makes decisions driven by anxiety. The greater the attachment, the less the freedom. And those who lose their freedom can hardly exert any real influence over their own destiny. The strategic man learns a different logic. He values people but doesn't depend on them for stability. He works diligently but knows that no position defines his identity. He invests his money intelligently but understands that wealth can be rebuilt when knowledge is present. This attitude stems from decisions based on real human nature because it recognizes that change is part of life and resisting it only prolongs suffering. Imagine two entrepreneurs facing the loss of a major client. The first despairs, complains for weeks, and blames the market. The second analyzes the mistakes, strengthens his team, diversifies his client portfolio, and transforms the loss into learning. The difference between them is not talent, it's detachment. The second understands that the end justifies the means only when those means preserve his ability to act intelligently, never desperately. He also understands that avoiding being hated doesn't mean begging everyone to stay by his side, but accepting that some doors need to close so that others can open. This is a calculated use of force applied to one's own mind, letting go of what has already served its purpose without turning it into a personal tragedy. And it is precisely when someone learns to let go of what they cannot control that they begin to perceive a different energy arising around them, as if there were an invisible frequency that only the truly disciplined can access. There's a common characteristic among men who wield true influence. They don't seem to chase after respect, authority, or admiration. Interestingly, these things seem to find them naturally. This happens because they operate on a different frequency than most. While many live reacting to everything that happens, they carefully choose where to invest their energy. While some waste hours arguing online, responding to provocations, or trying to win pointless debates, they invest that same time in developing skills, expanding knowledge, and strengthening their own discipline. Machiavelli observed that human behavior follows predictable patterns, and his politics, guided by reality, not ideals, showed that those who master themselves rarely need to dominate others by force. This is the secret frequency of power, a presence so solid that it dispenses with exaggerated displays. It's not about appearing superior, but about not depending on approval to keep moving forward. When someone stops reacting impulsively, they begin to see opportunities that were previously hidden by the noise of emotions. It's like turning off a room full of televisions to finally hear an important whisper. Silence ceases to be empty and becomes a tool for perception. This shift can be observed in extremely common situations. Imagine a work environment where gossip arises daily. While almost everyone participates in the conversations, one professional remains focused on results, delivers projects ahead of schedule, studies new skills, and avoids unnecessary conflicts. After a few months, the one who receives promotions and opportunities is usually the one who preserved their energy. The same happens in relationships. Those who immediately respond to every message, explain every absence, and try to control every situation transmit anxiety. Those who have clear objectives, a consistent routine, and emotional balance naturally arouse curiosity and respect. This represents virtù and fortuna in action. Constant preparation, finding opportunities when they arise. It also demonstrates constant adaptability, as the powerful man adjusts his strategy without abandoning his principles. His appearance of virtue is not theatrics. It arises from the daily repetition of solid habits. Like a leader who builds his own loyal armies, he first strengthens his mind, his body, his knowledge, and his character, before seeking external influence. That is why his calculated use of force rarely needs to be displayed. His simple posture communicates confidence, but there is an even more difficult skill than reaching that frequency. Remaining there, even when everything seems to demand an immediate reaction. That's exactly where the weapon that few manage to master comes in. We live in a time when everything seems to demand speed. Answers need to be immediate, results must appear in a few days, and any delay is interpreted as failure. This mentality has created a generation that knows how to accelerate, but has unlearned how to wait. However, those who observe history realize that the greatest achievements rarely arose from haste. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires seeing time as an ally, not an enemy. Human nature is impulsive. Faced with a provocation, it wants to respond. Faced with an opportunity, it wants to act without analyzing. Faced with an obstacle, it wants to give up or attack immediately. But it is precisely there that many give an advantage to their adversaries. Patience is not passivity, it is mastery. It is the ability to remain still while everyone around moves in desperation. Those who master this skill begin to perceive details that escape hurried eyes. While others expend energy trying to win the battle of the day, they are already preparing for the victory of the next month, the next year, or even the next decade. That is why truly strong men rarely seem anxious. They understood that time often rewards those who know how to wait without ceasing to act. Think of an experienced investor. While thousands panic at the temporary market downturn, they analyze the fundamentals, maintain discipline, and often take advantage of the very moment when everyone else is selling out of fear. The same applies to someone building a solid career. A professional who studies every day, develops new skills, learns English, improves their communication, and strengthens their emotional intelligence may seem to be progressing slowly. However, when a great opportunity arises, they are already prepared to seize it. This is virtù and fortuna working in practice. Luck favoring those who have spent years preparing in silence. Similarly, the calculated use of force teaches that not every provocation deserves a response, because responding to everything allows anyone to control their emotional state. Better to be feared than loved also follows this logic. The man who reacts impulsively conveys predictability, but the one who knows how to wait becomes impossible to read. His decisions based on real human nature cease to be emotional and become strategic. This posture allows him to avoid being hated without sacrificing firmness, as he chooses the exact moment to act. But there is an obstacle that not even patience alone can overcome, because the most dangerous enemy is almost never sitting on the other side of the table. Most of the time, it already lives within one's own mind. Most men spend years believing that their greatest obstacles are competitors, envious people, economic crises, or unfavorable circumstances. It's a comfortable explanation because it shifts responsibility to something external. However, Machiavelli observed reality without illusions and understood that the greatest battle always happens before any visible confrontation. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, begins when someone has the courage to look inward and recognize that many failures stem from invisible enemies. The fear of making mistakes, the need to please, procrastination, impulsiveness, pride, and insecurity. These adversaries make no noise, wear no uniform, and don't announce their presence. On the contrary, they often disguise themselves as prudence, perfectionism, or even humility. How many opportunities have been lost because someone waited for the perfect moment? How many talents remained hidden because the fear of criticism prevailed? While man continues to fight only against external factors, these internal enemies silently strengthen their chains. And the most dangerous thing is that they convince the person that the problem is never with them. Thus, they remain trapped in the same cycle for years, believing they were simply unlucky. Great strategists have always known that no fortress can stand when there is a traitor within its walls. That is precisely why true growth requires a constant audit of one's own mind. A simple exercise can reveal much. At the end of each day, write for 5 minutes which decisions were made out of courage and which were made out of fear. In a few weeks, patterns begin to emerge. Another powerful habit is to replace the question, "What if I fail?" with, "What can I learn even if I don't achieve the expected result?" This small change strengthens constant adaptability because it transforms mistakes into information, not identity. It also reinforces virtue and fortune, since emotional preparedness increases the ability to seize unexpected opportunities. The man who overcomes these internal enemies develops an appearance of virtue that does not depend on action. It is born naturally from the confidence built every day. Like a commander who protects his own loyal armies, he begins to watch his thoughts with the same care he previously dedicated to external problems. This is a true, calculated use of force, directed first towards oneself. Ultimately, the end justifies the means only when the means include discipline, self-control, and clarity. And when these adversaries finally cease to control your life, something changes almost imperceptibly. There are no applause, no announcements, no fireworks. There is only a silent moment in which a person realizes they have arrived at a place where few can remain. Interestingly, the moment of arrival almost never resembles what most people imagine throughout their lives. Many believe they will feel an explosion of happiness when they achieve money, respect, or influence. They expect a grand moment, full of recognition and celebration, but reality usually follows a different path. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that true power is silent. It doesn't need to announce its presence because it becomes naturally perceived. The man who once desperately sought approval now realizes he no longer feels the need to convince anyone. The one who responded to every criticism simply smiles and keeps walking. The one who once competed for attention begins to carefully select where he invests his time. There wasn't a single day when everything suddenly changed. There were hundreds of small, repeated choices until a new identity became permanent. And then something curious happens. People begin to treat him differently, even without understanding exactly why. It's not the clothes, the position, or the bank account that produces this change. It's the posture. It's the tranquility of someone who has finally learned that his value doesn't depend on the gaze of others. This is the moment when virtu and fortuna cease to seem like distant concepts and become part of everyday life. Constant preparation uncovers opportunities almost invisible to those who live distracted. A casual conversation leads to a promising partnership. A book read years before offers the solution to an unexpected problem. An old contact opens a door that seemed impossible. None of this happens by chance. The man has spent so much time strengthening his own foundations that, when the opportunity arose, he was already ready to act. Like a leader who trusts in his own loyal armies, he first built his internal resources: discipline, knowledge, patience, and emotional balance. His appearance of virtue became a consequence of his consistency, and his calculated use of force makes every word carry weight, precisely because he no longer speaks to impress. He understands that better to be feared than loved means inspiring respect through firmness, while avoiding being hated requires justice, self-control, and emotional intelligence. His decisions, based on real human nature, make him difficult to manipulate, and his constant adaptability prevents success from turning him into someone complacent. Still, looking back, he realizes there's one last lesson, perhaps the most important of all. Because reaching the destination was never the true goal. What truly remains is what he will be able to convey when he finally chooses to speak his last words. Ultimately, the truly powerful man is not the one who accumulates the most wealth, holds the highest office, or wins the most admirers. These things can disappear overnight. Genuine respect, however, remains because it was built on something no one can take away: self-mastery. Machiavelli never wrote to teach cheap manipulation or superficial games of influence. His true teaching always pointed to a profound understanding of human nature. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires abandoning comfortable illusions and accepting that the world rewards those who can act with clarity, while others remain trapped by emotions. Throughout this journey, it has become evident that silence has never been the absence of strength, but its most refined form of expression. The man who learns to listen more than he speaks, observe more than he reacts, and think before acting ceases to be driven by circumstances. he begins to drive them. And this change happens long before any external recognition. First, the mind changes. Then, decisions change. Only then does life change. When this understanding becomes part of one's identity, concepts like virtù and fortuna cease to be mere ideas and begin to guide every daily choice. The calculated use of force appears in the ability to control impulses. The appearance of virtue arises from the coherence between discourse and behavior. The maxim that it is better to be feared than loved transforms into respect, earned through firmness, while avoiding being hated reminds us that authority does not need to be arrogance. Decisions based on real human nature make relationships more intelligent, businesses more solid, and leadership more stable. Constant adaptability prevents today's success from becoming tomorrow's complacency. And like a commander who never depends exclusively on external allies, he daily strengthens his own loyal armies. Discipline, knowledge, self-control, courage, and character. At this point, the end justifies the means only when the means preserve these principles and allow one to walk with integrity. Because in the end, the silent man inspires respect not for what he says, but for the peace he transmits, the choices he upholds, and the security he demonstrates without needing to announce it. Those who understand this discover that the greatest power has never been in controlling others, but in becoming someone that no one else can control. If there is one lesson that remains after everything that has been presented, it is this: silence has never been a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it transforms into power when it is born from self-control, clarity, and the ability to act without depending on anyone's approval. Most people will continue living on autopilot, reacting to every provocation, explaining every decision, and surrendering their emotions to others. But those who truly understand Machiavelli's teachings choose another path. They begin to observe before speaking, think before acting, and decide based on reality, not impulse. It is precisely this posture that separates ordinary men from those who become truly respected. Now the question is, which version of yourself has been in charge of your life until now? The one that needs to win every argument? The one that feels the need to immediately respond to any criticism? Or the one that has already understood that true power lies in choosing when to act and, especially, when to remain silent? Think honestly. How many opportunities have you missed by acting in the heat of the moment? How many conflicts could have been avoided if your emotions weren't in control? And more importantly, if you continue making the same decisions for the next 5 years, where will your life be headed? Change begins the moment you take responsibility for your own choices. Don't wait for the world to change first. Develop discipline, strengthen your mind, learn continuously. Control your emotions before trying to control any external situation, because strong men aren't born different. They build every day a version of themselves that can no longer be manipulated by fear, anxiety, or the need to please. That's the kind of strength that remains, even when no one is watching. Now I want to hear from you. What was the lesson from this video that most caught your attention? At what point did you realize you were still giving away your power without realizing it? Write your answer in the comments. Your experience can help other people who are going through the exact same situation. And if this content has helped you see the power of silence from a new perspective, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we publish in-depth content about Machiavelli, strategy, human nature, power, emotional intelligence, and personal development for those who want to build a life guided by reason, discipline, and truly strategic decisions. See you in the next video.